We talking rom-com, we talking action, we talking drama and movie classics. Whatever you want, yo, we have it, cause we talking movies on the podcast. So I married a film critic. So I married a film critic. So I married a film critic. Hey honey, I just want to talk about the movie like casually. You don't have to bring up the cinematography. Honestly, let's just talk about like how the characters were fun. Married a film critic. So I married a film critic. So I married a...
Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic. I'm your co-host, Julia.
And I'm the film critic, Barry. How are you doing, everyone?
So, this episode, you tricked me. Why don't you tell everyone what we're talking about?
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
You are about to go beyond that limit.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I had them analyzed. But they were definitely not human.
If you saw how scared and angry and desperate he is.
I'm sure Typhoid Mary was a very nice person, too, when you saw her socially.
No!
You're afraid to be destroyed and recreated, aren't you?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh, no. What's happening to me? Am I dying?
I want to know what's going on.
What does the disease want?
It wants to turn me into something else.
Oh, no.
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone.
Don't go back to it. It could be contagious.
I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
We're talking about David Cronenberg's The Fly, which is not a movie I ever thought I would watch with you, Julia. In fact, I think I probably thought years ago that if I wanted to stay married, it would be best not to show you this movie. But I do love it. And it's one of these movies I've always been tempted to show it to you because it's weird to say this, but this is one of those movies I grew up. I watched a lot as a kid. I really have always enjoyed it and liked it. Even though it really is incredibly gross at times. And I avoided it for the longest time. But then a couple days ago, Scream Factory, one of the greatest boutique DVD Blu-ray companies out there, they put together a Fly box set. Yes, I'm one of those nerds who still buys Blu-rays and DVDs in the age of streaming. So I bought the box set and I came home and I'm like, hey, look what I got. And you sounded mildly interested, but it was an opening. I had something. So
No, I was interested because I actually had heard of this movie and it wasn't some random B movie or C movie that you wanted to collect because it's out of print. So I was thinking, oh, a movie I've heard of.
And I told you, like, hey, it's got Jeff Goldblum in it. He was married to Gina Davis when he did this. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. So I thought, ooh, I've got it open. Okay, it's Now or Never. So
this is how he tricks me, guys. I go in to put our daughter to bed and I come out and there's already a movie paused, ready to go. And I ask, what movie is this? And you tell me, and then you say, you only have to watch 10 minutes. Go ahead, set your timer.
Yeah, I gave you an out. I said, if this doesn't look good, we could put on anything else. And I asked you multiple times, like, you sure you want to do this? Without getting too ahead, it's 15 minutes in where the first gore effect pops up. And it is shocking. It's a baboon that's been inverted. It's really gross.
It's
disgusting. And you said as much. And I said, we could stop now. And you're like, no, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So,
because I'm not a wuss, so,
I know you're not. But I know this is not the kind of movie you would normally watch. But I also think this is better than most films that are this gory, frankly. There are movies that are this gory or gorier that aren't this good, frankly, and I think this is a really smart movie. So this is David Cronenberg's 1986 remake of The Fly. There had been a version, I think, in 1958 with Vincent Price. This is a different deal. In the original version, it was about a mad scientist who, you know, believed in the power of teleportation, basically like, you know, what a teleporter is in Star Trek, that kind of technology. So he's a family man. He works in his basement. And he gets into the teleporter, not realizing that a fly gets in there with him. And lo and behold, he gets out of the teleporter, and suddenly he is a human being with a giant fly head and a fly arm. And meanwhile, this teeny tiny little house fly is flying around the house, and everyone's noting that there's this weird little fly flying around the house that has a white head and a white arm. So this was the original version, and it's charming, but it's cheesy. It has all sorts of scientific problems, the biggest of which you're going like, well, what about the extra molecules then? Like, why shouldn't it be just like a human body with a teeny tiny little fly head and a teeny tiny little fly arm with this little fly body with a huge human head attached to it? I mean, it should be really gross and bizarre, but no, the movie makes it very easy. So this is David Cronenberg. This is, one of our greatest living filmmakers. I'll go that far. And he's a Canadian. He busted out making these Canadian tax shelter films back in the day. Made films like Rabbit and Scanners and Shivers, Videodrome, movies that I thought were a little over the line gross. Just movies that, even though they're about stuff and they're dealing with social issues and the issues of viruses and all this stuff, but I've never liked a lot of his early movies. And then somewhere along the line, he does Stephen King's The Dead Zone, which I think is one of the great Stephen King movies. And then it led to this movie. And I think this is probably one of his best films, if not his very best movie. The Fly stars Jeff Goldblum. It's a complete rethink of the original film. Jeff Goldblum is Seth Brundle. He is a scientist who's on the verge of changing the world as we know it. He has invented teleportation. And we know this because in the space of 10 minutes, I mean, this movie is brisk. It's 90 minutes, but so much.
It feels longer because it's so gross.
Thank you for adding that. So I mean, the thing moves really, really quickly. We meet him immediately in mid-conversation with Ronnie, played by the lovely Gina Davis. And they're meeting at this science convention. She's there to just report and do some interviews. And he convinces her to go with him to his creepy lab in the middle of, I guess, Toronto, to see this amazing thing he's invented. And amazingly, she goes with it because Brundle, as played by Goldblum, he's charming and obviously likable and handsome because it's Jeff Goldblum. But at the same time, he's clearly weird and awkward and, so you do really wonder, like, why does she agree to go with this guy? Because, it's either he's taking her to see his scientific invention or he's taking her out in the middle of nowhere to kill her. I mean, so she takes her chances. And she's tough. She's wearing a black leather jacket. So, so clearly she's nobody's fool.
We know she can handle herself.
She can handle Jeff Goldblum. So, yeah, so they get to his creepy lab, in which is, dirty and dilapidated but spacious. And apparently he lives there too. And he basically shows her the telepods, which, as she said, looks like designer phone booths. But he asks for something that, is
something personal,
something that is definitive to you. So cleverly, we think she's going to hand him her shoe, but instead she gives him her stocking, a very nice provocative moment. And it gives Goldblum a chance to, act like the nerdy scientist who's never held a woman's stocking before. So I'm like, oh yeah. He has that moment for just a second, which is great. So it's a great comic touch. He puts her stocking in the teleporter, and lo and behold, it teleports to the teleportation machine next to it, and she gets it immediately. I mean, he's created, he's created the impossible. This is like the most amazing thing ever, and he wants nothing to do with a journalist. He thought he was just kind of hitting on this gorgeous girl who's into science. He didn't realize that she's a journalist and she wants
to write a story.
Yeah, wants to publish this amazing find. So without just describing the whole thing, I mean, it quickly jumps to her job. She has an editor named Stathis Barans, and Stathis is played by John Getz, a very good character actor. He was the lead in Blood Simple. Stathis, as we quickly learn, he used to date Ronnie, played by Gina Davis, and they have broken up, and he's a bit of a...
And he's creepy.
He's a stalker creep. He's even worse than Seth Brundle, so poor Gina Davis in this movie, she has to deal with either the stalker or the science nerd. Clearly, there's not enough good men in Toronto, but I digress. So Stathis in order to keep basically Ronnie in his life, because he's clearly just an awful individual, and she's constantly telling him how awful he is, and we completely agree. The actor's doing a great job at selling this role. She decides to basically embark with Brundle into this world that he's created, the possibilities of teleportation.
Well, because he convinces her, hey, don't just do an article.
Yeah.
Why don't you hang out with me, record things, and you could have a best-selling book on your hands.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if he just doesn't want her to write an article right then because his experiment isn't fully realized, as he has only teleported inanimate objects, or if this is kind of his way of
Keeping her around.
Yeah.
She's got 2 stockings. I can hold the other stocking too. Wow. So yeah. So basically, the movie quickly established itself as a love triangle, because while they're doing these experiments, at one point he puts a slab of steak in one teleporter and transfers it to another, and it's established that one piece of steak tastes real, the other one tastes synthetic. At the same time, Stathis, again, a great name for a despicable character, Stathis is basically stalking her. He's following her. He's acting like the jealous, jilted boyfriend, even though clearly he's a creep, and he shows up at her apartment uninvited.
And to take a shower,
which is just so despicable. And she cleverly flushes the toilet, which I don't know if that has ever worked in real life, but it always happens in movies.
I think in some houses it works in real life.
Okay, I've never had that situation.
Depends on your plumbing.
Yeah, because I know, like, if that had been a reality in the house that I grew up with, I'm sure my brother and I would have done that to each other all the time. I'm sure there'd been a constant thing happening. Barry! So, so the big turning point of the film, I mean, for one thing, we should mention the baboon. Seth Brundle has a baboon as a pet.
2 baboons.
2 baboons. Apparently, they're brothers. And in addition to using them for lab work, he ends up using one as part of the experiment. And unfortunately, it's an early example of the teleportation experiment. So the baboon basically goes from one teleportation device to another, inverted.
Inside out,
and it's alive fortunately for a painful few
disgusting.
moments. It's gross. It's the first example of the movie kind of tipping its hat, like, this is where we're going, because prior to that there is a lightness in the tone. Like,
yeah, that's true.
It doesn't feel
that's
like
why I agreed to keep going. But this isn't so bad,
right? And then that scene happens, and it's like, yeah, because without jumping too far ahead, I mean, the special effects are done by Chris Walas. He won the Academy Award for this movie, and it's deserving because the effects are vivid and they look real, and they're really, really nauseating at times.
Yeah, but I mean, amazing special effects.
Yeah,
because it's so nasty.
You don't question it. Yeah, it doesn't really look like puppets. It looks gushy and real and vivid. Yeah, so thankfully you kept with the movie, because that was the point where I said, last chance. Like, if you want to. We could put on something else. It's cool. Like, I was just happy. I was going to just happily tell my brother that, I got you to watch this with me. I'm amazed that we even got this far.
I couldn't end at an inverted baboon. That just felt wrong. Yeah.
Because you want to see what happened to the other baboon.
I did.
Shortly thereafter, it's established that Brundle figures out the problem with his machine, which is that there's a human element lacking. The machine struggles with the flesh. As he said, the flesh drives it crazy. So he has to basically simplify it for the machine. And, on the one hand, this is really intriguing science, but it's also one of these movies where, like, rather than talk down to the audience, you just have, like, Jeff Goldblum, like, typing frantically at the computer and everything's fixed. It's like, okay, movie,
they don't
all right.
need to explain it because it can't be explained.
Yeah, okay, fine. Like, science fiction, emphasis on fiction, fine, whatever. But then, the big turning point, rather, even more so than the inverted baboon, is that Ronnie and Seth, Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum, they become lovers. And he's clearly completely enamored with her, and she clearly digs him too. But she initiates it. But he's an odd guy, and you could kind of see the sense of, like, she's also dealing with the fact that her ex is stalking her. And not only is this a relationship, but it's an opportunity for her. Not to say that she's an opportunist per se. I mean, I think there is some genuine heart and emotion there, but we
don't really know at that point why she's coming onto him and all of that, because I think obviously by the end she really does love him.
Yes.
But her jumping into bed with him, you're kind of like, what? Why? What?
Well, she says that you're cute, which is true. Goldblum is cute, but at the same time, it also could be boredom, loneliness. I mean, she's been with this guy in this lab for hours every day, listening to him talk. So, you know,
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah.
Well,
maybe.
Well, so he sends the other baboon through after he fixes it, he sends the other baboon through, and you're just thinking, dear Lord, please don't let him kill another poor baboon. And the baboon makes it.
Yep.
He seems fine. And Seth says, I'm going to send the baboon out to get tested. It'll take a couple weeks. We'll just make sure he's truly normal and nothing got like rearranged molecularly, I guess.
Yes.
So then I guess Stathis sends Seth some kind of mail, and Gina Davis gets her hands on it, and it's like a cover. It's the cover story that she's working on. So Particle Magazine, and it's Seth on the cover as like this mad scientist. Yeah. And she's thinking, oh no, he wants to publish my article, but I'm doing a book. Okay, so she needs to fix this problem. So she leaves, and Seth just spirals.
Yeah.
So
with the help of some really very good champagne, apparently, because it might be the first time he's ever been drunk.
Yeah. So he tells the baboon, hey, you're fine, right? Like, you're normal. I'm sorry about your brother. Literally says that. And he sets up the teleportation device and teleports himself. And there is a fly inside. Dun, dun, dun.
But I gotta say, and to the film's credit, and also I love that your awareness of this movie, even like, from the distance, is that you believe that he's gonna get into this thing and he's gonna walk out of it as this big fly monster. And the movie does play with that expectation.
Yeah, I totally thought that.
Yeah, there's a lot of fog when the machine opens and you're expecting like this big monster to come on. No, you see his head for a while, but like you don't see anything else for a while. You think, oh, is this going to be some weird, gross? No, he just walks out. He's fine. He's feeling great. So the movie does mess with you, because then it's like,
yeah, then
what is this
you're
exactly?
thinking, uh-oh, what's going to happen? Where's the fly?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I thought he was going to come out a fly monster. Yeah.
But when he comes out as Goldblum, I mean, did you think that it was going to be like the Wolfman, or, like...
I don't know. At that point, I think I was even more intrigued because I had no idea what was going to happen after that.
You thought they were going to have dinner, and she's like, so what do you think? And he was like, well, sorry, I can't help myself.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know. So Gina Davis comes back, and he doesn't tell her right away.
No, well, he's embarrassed because, I mean, he drunkenly... I mean, it's somewhere between a suicide attempt and just a really self-destructive act of jealousy and loneliness.
Yeah,
and
to just jump in this thing because he was going to have the baboon tested. He was going to do it the scientific way.
Yeah.
And he ended up being very just stupid.
Yes.
Spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, this is like guys who like, they break up with their girlfriends and they call them and they like leave them answering machine messages, or they like, like this
angry texts.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you wake up and you look at your phone.
Why did
and
I
you
do
think,
that? Yeah.
oh no.
So stupid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is the equivalent of that. The 80s equivalent of that.
Well, this is
of extreme example.
Yeah, an extreme example.
This is like sticking your head in a microwave and hitting like the go button. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we kind of just see them living together and living their life. And then she notices some crazy stuff start to happen.
Yeah.
I think the most wild is he gets up and he just starts doing all these gymnastics routines.
He turns into Mary Lou Retton. Yeah, he just becomes like...
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's doing this elaborate gymnastics routine.
Yeah, and I did look it up. He did some of those stunts on his own.
Goldblum, that's awesome.
Yeah, there is a part where he kind of like is on a bar and he's just like swinging full body around multiple times. He didn't do that part. But yeah, he's doing like these amazing feats of strength and agility, and she's sitting there like, whoa, what's happening?
Like, well, this is good. You want to work out. You're kind of a lanky guy, so this is great. My last boyfriend didn't really care so much about his figure, so this is great. Hooray for me.
Then he starts to become extremely amorous.
Yes, that's a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah. And she's like, dude, I need a break. And he's like, you gotta go into the machine. It's amazing. You're gonna feel like superhuman. And he kind of thinks it's the machine that has given him this, I don't know.
It's like a religious fervor. It's like, it's even, you know, what a junkie would say, like, you got to try this. You got to try this. You know, it's like, it's very, yeah, I mean, the word is obvious. It's very intense. Everything about him has been elevated. He's speaking faster. He has incredible strength.
Yeah. And he just
likes a lot of sugar in his coffee, a lot of sugar.
Oh, yeah. He starts eating just donuts.
Right.
And yeah, one day she's like, do you want some coffee with your sugar?
Yeah.
Just
it's like my diet in college, just lots and lots of donuts.
And then you kind of notice his skin on his face is getting, I don't know, just like
it's subtle, I think, which is great because you know, I'm just thinking, oh, maybe they just didn't photograph Jeff Goldblum on a good day, but then you kind of forget, like, he's really handsome, especially like if you remember the first shot of the film, one of the first shots is a close up of his face, like talking to her.
Very clear skin.
Yeah, he's a
dewy.
He's a beautiful looking guy. Yeah, so like he kind of sneaks up on you, like he's got acne, really bad acne.
Bad acne.
Yeah,
and then during one of their sexcapades, she's notices some like hair on his back.
Yeah, because he had a cut earlier where he was in bed with her. He lays, and by the way, the bed is his couch, the pull-out couch.
Yeah,
I mean, this is as sexy as it gets
sad.
in this movie. Yeah, so he realizes like it's a little.
He rolls over on some kind of computer motherboard or something.
Yeah, like that, and he pulls it out of his back. He's like, "Oh, I've been looking for that," and you don't think anything of it except that the movie cleverly establishes that gash, that little wound in his back, it's going to provide us a glimpse of these little black hairs that keep growing out of his back.
Yeah, so she cuts them off and apparently keeps them.
Yes, which makes sense because she is, it's creepy, but at the same time, it's like she's doing this book. She's treating this guy.
She still has her wits about her, and she is still a journalist and investigating. She's got that investigative mind.
She's keeping her eye on him the way he would keep his eye on his baboons. There is that.
Yeah. So he just gets really weird and calls her, I don't know, basically like...
You're jealous.
Yeah, well, you're jealous, but he's just like, I'm going to go find somebody who can keep up with me.
Yeah.
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 So then we have that bar scene.
Yeah. Let's talk about the bar scene. I mean, very, considering we had spoken about Sylvester Stallone's Over the Top just recently, it's very timely that we revisit the concept of arm wrestling cinema.
Yeah. He goes and there's these two guys arm wrestling and this woman kind of watching them, and he's like, $100 says I can beat you, and if I do, I'm taking her home. And she's like, I'm not a prostitute. And so he arm wrestles this guy and then snaps his wrist off. It's one of the
and the girl's like, well, I guess I am a prostitute. Let's go. So they take off. Yeah, it's very... this isn't not a really, I wouldn't say it's a sexist film, but the character is maybe the most despicable in this entire film.
Who is?
The girl that he picks.
Oh, the girl. Yeah,
she's kind of awful.
Yeah. Yeah, because he says, let's go back to my place. She's like, let's go to some more bars. Okay. So he finally gets her back to his place. And I didn't realize, but he probably lives up, 10 flights of stairs?
Yeah.
And there's no elevator?
Yeah.
And he carries her up, like runs.
It's great. It does establish just how much strength he has since he's been through the teleporter. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets her up there, and I think this is one of the creepier things in the movie because they have sex, but he tries to like throw her in the machine.
Right.
Like very forcefully and violently. And how does she escape? I don't remember.
She manages to kind of worm her way away from him, and, and he's like, don't be afraid. And that's when Ronnie suddenly appears with a great line.
Want to? I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Who's this?
Oh, I forgot to tell you, I live with my mother, too. Mom, meet Tawny.
I gotta go. Thanks for a wonderful time.
Why'd you scare her off? Jealous?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing. You look bad. You smell bad.
I've never been much of a bather.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I took them to a lab. I had them analyzed.
The hairs? The hairs? Oh. Yeah, that's a strange thing to do.
Not as strange as the results. The guy at the lab had trouble identifying them. He finally came to the conclusion that they were definitely not human.
Oh. Very good.
Not human, Seth. In fact, very likely insect hairs.
That's silly. That's ridiculous.
Look. Now there's more. Look at your face. Something happened when you went through, Seth. You've got to get some help. I think you must be sick.
You're jealous! I've become free. I've been released, and you can't stand it. You'll do anything to bring me down.
It is really creepy because Seth thinks, oh, if she goes in here, she'll be like superhuman like me. And what, we're just going to like hump like rabbits all day? I don't really know the point of it.
It is, you know, I think it has something, again, it's a character thing. I mean, he's not only has he always been lonely, but he's completely alone at this point. He really feels like, you know, I only have a few more shots at this. In terms of like, you know, finding someone to relate to him, understand to him. He lost Ronnie. Maybe I could find someone who could like share my passion, you know, even though it's this really
girl with
dim chick,
very low IQ.
Yeah.
So Ronnie then
she resurfaces and says, "Hey, I had those hairs looked at and got some
they are
really bad news.
Not human."
Yeah.
So I don't know. Then at this point, doesn't he kind of banish her from
Yes, he banishes her, and we have it's one of the money scenes in the film, and it kind of it tells you where the movie's going, but it does in a really interesting way where, for one thing, Goldblum's flesh is deteriorating.
Yeah,
he realizes not only are his teeth falling out, but also his fingernails are falling off as well.
Oh, so
which
gross.
is a lot of fun. And then he ultimately decides, like, well, I should maybe look at the machine. So he goes to the transporter and realizes, of course, that he went into it with an insect. And there's a great reveal of what the insect looked like and how it got absorbed into him, that they're genetically spliced at the...
Oh, yeah, because he thought, oh, well, maybe I've just absorbed the insect.
Yeah, the way you would pass an insect if you swallowed it. But
Yeah.
this is a case of they're one and the same.
The machine says, oh, no, we've spliced you together on a molecular level.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some crazy gross special effects where he's taking off his fingernails and then squeezing his fingers.
And all this pus flies out. Yeah.
And it is just, it's so gross.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was telling you, I watched that moment because I know we're looking at a fake hand. I know that's exactly what it is. But
it doesn't look fake.
It looks so real. It's got knuckles and hair growing out of it and freckles. Like the makeup is so good that it just convinces me every time, and it's so disgusting. Yeah. Because it doesn't just spray out pus; it sprays it all over his bathroom mirror, which is so much worse. It's like, like this is a pet peeve, but I mean it can't really be helped. Like when you're brushing your teeth and people like spit on the mirror or on the faucet. That just grosses me out so much, and I thought of that watching this movie.
Yeah. It really is a gross out moment.
Yeah.
But it's also his realization that
it's what it takes.
Okay, this is bad. Because before he knew he was changing.
But he really thought it was for the best. And,
yeah. He thought it was for the best. And now I think he's, this is his oh shit moment.
It's a real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing going on with Seth Brundle. But, and I guess to get into a little bit later, I mean, he describes it to Ronnie as insect politics. He tells her basically that he's afraid he's going to hurt her because it's an insect. It doesn't have, empathy.
Feelings, right or wrong.
Yeah, which is, on the one hand, you hear that and you think that's kind of silly, but then you think, well, how nice are flies exactly? I mean, I don't think we would ever think about how ruthless a fly is and how ruthless the existence of a fly is.
Well, just any insect, really. Yeah, it's just the survival of the fittest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it might be worse if it was a mosquito. Flies are they seem to have a kind of a banal existence.
That's true.
Yeah.
But he shows, one of the things he shows is how he can't chew anymore.
Yeah.
And so I guess flies regurgitate this fluid, and then their food gets liquefied, and then they slurp it up. And
I seem to remember hearing that in science class when I was in grade school. I don't know how accurate that is, but but I have had those moments where I've watched a fly like land on me, like, is he going to do it?
But
Come on,
I
buddy,
mean, watching a full grown man do what a fly does is so gross.
Watching a grown man vomit in general is just the most disgusting thing. And this movie does not flinch in showing you, Yeah.
So every time Ronnie goes back, because she does go back periodically, because she finds out.
Yeah, she finds out she's pregnant with his child.
Yeah. And it's like, is it a real baby? Is it a human baby? Is it a fly baby? Is it a hybrid? I mean, she's freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you
would. As you would.
Yeah. It's understandable. Yeah, the movie makes its case that nothing about this is natural, and the fact that she is pregnant with his child, there's an aspect of doom there.
Yeah.
And I do like this aspect about the movie because the issue of abortion comes up. This is 1986. This is not that far removed from Roe v. Wade. I mean, the issue of abortion was, it's a real, it's a taboo subject for most movies, let alone a sci-fi horror film. And I like that the film goes back and forth on the issue. It's not heavy-handed about it. The movie doesn't become about that. But, it just presents a variety of perspectives, because on the one hand you're going, yes, Ronnie, we back you on this. The person or thing that ends up talking her out of it, to get a little ahead of it, is Seth. He says, I don't want you to lose the thing about me that is human, which would be a baby child. I don't want, that, little Seth to go away, which is intriguing.
Yeah. I did think about that, because at one point she tells Stathis, you get me to an abortion doctor right now.
And the doctor's trying to talk her out of it too.
Yeah,
this is interesting. The movie isn't it's not going one way or the other. It's really presenting there's something.
Because it was in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, it's the middle of the night.
Don't you want to think about this?
Do you want to get some tests done? Anything? And she's like, get it out of my body. I don't want it in my body. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was an interesting kind of theme that I was not expecting to come up.
Yeah, I like, because again, I think it doesn't, the movie, despite how grim this film is, and it's very grim, it's not heavy-handed about that, at least, which I think is pretty impressive.
I didn't think it was heavy-handed. I think it was pretty apolitical about it.
Apolitical, and we completely sympathize with Ronnie, because this isn't somebody who's sick. This is somebody who is becoming a monster in a very literal sense. We should probably talk about the dream sequence, which is a very famous scene from this movie.
Oh yeah, where she's dreaming that she's going into labor.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, at the beginning of the dream, I thought she was having an abortion.
Yeah.
And then she pushes out this thing, and it's a large baby maggot.
It's a giant, squirming, bloody maggot. Yeah.
It is so gross.
Great cameo, by the way, by David Cronenberg playing the gynecologist who pulls it out of her. So.
I mean, yeah. At that point, you're like, well, if that's what it is, get it out.
Yeah. No, and we're fearing that. I mean, it's comical as an image, but it's so gross, and it's very on the nose, because that's obviously what you think you'd do if you were pregnant with a fly baby.
Yeah. And if anybody's ever seen maggots, disgusting.
Yes, you and I have had our share of maggots. Ugh. But anyway, so the stakes are very high, because Seth Brundle appears to be doomed, and Ronnie is unable to save him, to protect him. All she can do is chronicle his falling apart. And meanwhile, Stathis is his usual wormy self, where he's trying to stay in Ronnie's life. But even he is just appalled by what he's seeing. She gives Stathis a video of Seth to give him an idea, this is what it looks like, this is what's going on.
A vomit video.
It's a vomit video, yeah, which is pretty pretty nasty.
At one point, she goes back to his place, and he's crawling on the ceiling.
That's amazing.
Upside down.
Upside down, yeah. It's amazing stuff.
That was crazy. The special effects in this movie are wild.
Yeah, this was a $9 million movie, and that wasn't much money in 1986. They did a lot on a very limited budget. And another thing, some of you know this listening to this, I teach, I'm a film teacher, and I doing a film class on horror films right now, and we dealt with this a week ago. We were talking about, in my class, like, isn't it amazing that we're dealing with a movie that's really about three people, really. It's mostly three people in one set, really, most of the film. And I love that, even though there is again, talking about the compact nature of it, it's only about 90 minutes and change. It really is like, it's almost claustrophobic in a sense, because it's just these three people in their world in this one big warehouse where most of the film takes place. But it doesn't feel stagey. It doesn't
feel small.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, it really doesn't feel small. I mean, until you said that, I didn't even think about how they were basically on one set the whole time.
Most of the film. Yeah, I mean, we occasionally see Ronnie's apartments, Stathis's office. Exactly. And sometimes she and Seth went to lunch at the beginning of the film. But yeah, for the most part, it's really just one set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, the part that really freaked me out. So she's about to have the abortion.
Yeah.
And the doctor says, hey, put this gown on and then we'll come back. And Brundlefly, that's his name when he becomes a fly, just crashes through this huge window and steals her. It really reminded me of like Godzilla or Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, very Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, it is a monster movie at that point.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, you were right to ask, like, could he really do that? And it's like, well, he's climbing, he clearly has super strength, even though he's sick. And he's able to climb on walls. He has like this Spider-Man adhesive where his fingers used to be.
He just doesn't have wings.
Yes.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet. Yeah.
He
That's coming.
fully evolved, but
right.
Yeah, he just kind of crashes through, and I jumped off the couch.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, to not only to speak about it in kind of a dumb way, but like Goldblum is covered in makeup. But the reason I want to mention that is because Goldblum is amazing in this. I mean, he's giving a performance where it still feels so expressive. It's not just, he's not playing a monster. He's playing a man who is like struggling to keep his humanity. He was a weird guy to begin with, and I love that he plays the scientist this way. He's awkward. He's clearly someone who's really overly accustomed to being alone. We see early on that he has a closet full of the exact same outfits. So there's something like wonderfully nerdy about him in a way that's accessible and universal, but at the same time, it's like this is like the weird guy who sat in the back of the class, probably pulling the wings off of flies. That weird guy. And when he's changing deeply into the metamorphosis, we're able to still see that character. His eyes are very visible, even when it's covered with this bulbous makeup, and it goes through a lot of different phases. It's not like there's one version of it. Like he keeps,
it just keeps getting worse
and worse and worse. And at one point, he's not wearing any clothes. That's when he smashes through the window. So he's completely naked. In
a suit.
In a suit, but it's still it's very hard to look at, but at the same time, it's hard not to look because the makeup is incredible. And again, like Goldblum, like it's not one of those situations where the makeup is like concealing the actor. It's like, if anything, he's using it as a tool to play this character, and I love that about that. It's probably the best, if not one of the best performances I've ever seen where an actor is able to use certainly that kind of makeup, that extensive, that painful, claustrophobic makeup, and still give this great performance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's thinking, he looks at all those CGI performances where
he's like, you pricks. You have it so easy.
Where they're wearing
your motion capture.
Yeah, exactly.
You wuss.
All they have is those little white dots all over their bodies and their faces, and that's it. They're just in a unitard.
And this guy had to spend days and days and hours on the makeup chair. Like, you can't hear anything. You can't hear anything when you got that plaster around you. So it's claustrophobic. You can't hear anything.
Well, yeah, because his fake ear falls off at one point.
Yeah, which is gross. You're drinking through a straw. I mean, like, it's a torturous experience. Yeah, and here it's, everyone like, oh, I suffered for Lord of the Rings with the...
Who's that guy?
Oh, Andy Serkis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hates
I'd wear
him.
my
He
unitard
hates him.
with my little dots in my face. Oh, it's so hard to be me. Goldblum is such a struggle to play. Whatever, man.
So, okay, describe the final scene.
The final scene. Well, yeah, it's about 10 minutes, but a lot happens. For one thing, so Brundlefly takes Ronnie back to his house using his spider powers. The movie very wisely doesn't show us the specifics of it, but clearly he's able to jump great heights, and he's able to smash through walls, and he's able to climb buildings. So he basically like does like a Super Mario Brothers where they're bouncing from building to building.
But we don't see that.
We don't see that. Very
that
wise.
Would have been
which is very,
crazy.
Very smart. So yeah, he takes her back to the building. They're on the rooftop, and he's pleading with her, let's stay a family. Don't kill my baby. It's, and again, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it's very Beauty and the Beast. It's very Phantom of the Opera. Meanwhile, Stathis Baran's, being the little wormy jerk that he is, he was at the abortion clinic like, hey, where'd you go? So he goes back to Brundle's lab and shows up all wormy, and he's got a gun. So he's ready. And,
but I want to describe
okay,
what his plan is.
Okay.
Because Seth thinks that if he goes into one pod and Gina Davis with her unborn baby goes in the other pod, that he can basically the three of them can become one being.
Right.
And that's how he thinks he's going to save himself.
Yes. So
and that the fly molecules go away.
That there will be enough humanity there to reinstate his lack of humanity. Yeah.
So basically destroying Gina Davis in the process.
Basically. I mean, at best, we're talking about a three-headed monster. At best. I mean, it's the possibility.
It's a hideous solution.
It's such a gross idea. And, the movie has, this isn't a movie that's ever been like, oh, no, nothing bad's going to happen. No, if anything, this movie's like, oh, yeah, this is bad. This is going to be so disgusting, folks. So hold on. So Stathis shows up. He thinks he's alone in the lab. Seth Brundle. He drops down from the ceiling. Brundlefly, thank you. Brundlefly drops down from the ceiling, vomits on him and on his arm, which quickly dissolves very quickly.
And his ankle. It's so gross, and yet I couldn't look away because the makeup, you're just wondering how the heck they actually pulled this off. Yeah. Because it's just
there's no CGI, so how do they do this?
White vomit, and then disintegration of limbs, right? And then and then Stathis
and John gets, to his credit, is on the floor going ah! And there's all sorts of gurgling sounds. Yeah. And for me, the thing that's the grossest about this scene is so he vomits on his hand, it vanishes. He vomits on his foot, it melts. So John gets as Stathis. He's on the ground. He's kind of squirming around, but he's in total shock, as you would be when a fly man vomits on you. So Goldblum, who's in full heavy makeup. It's like the Elephant Man. It's huge bulbous makeup. He's got all sorts of vomit coming out of his mouth, and he's drooly. He's walking over very slowly to Stathis' head. What's about to happen. He's he's creeping over to him, and his mouth is open. There's drool coming out. He's about to vomit on his head. It's so gross. And thankfully, Gina Davis goes, no, don't do it, which is what the audience, I'm sure, was saying at this point. So Ronnie pleads with Seth, please don't do this. This is a bad idea. And Seth's like, nope, it's time to merge. So he forces her into the pod, but in doing so, for one thing, she takes off his jaw. She removes his jaw.
Yeah. She does attack him, and more things fall off. It's truly horrifying.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's like a lizard losing his skin. So first she takes the jaw off, and I got to say, a great touch. The jaw actually goes when it's on the ground. It's like, who would have thought a jaw could do that? Thank you, horror movie, for telling me that. So that happens, and then as he's pulling her towards the pod, it's like everything just comes right off. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, he basically turns into a fly at this point.
Yeah, I guess it's a perfect merging of human and fly. So it's as human as a fly could look, but the little
now there's no more Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, no more Jeff Goldblum. Yeah. I think at this point it's all puppet. I don't think Goldblum is any suit.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this is so she's locked in a pod. Fly goes into the other pod.
It's awesome. And the fly's got...
And there's a countdown. There's a countdown clock, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to merge soon.
It's everything, every time you've ever looked like really close to the fly, you know, you get the little fuzzy mandibles, it's there. It's so cool. Yeah. And it's gross
everything
and slimy.
but the wings at this point.
Right. But I think the wings are like tucked in, but yeah.
They were right not to like mess with wings.
Wings would have been really silly. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Okay, so they're both in their separate pods, and
Yes.
you're watching, going, "Oh my gosh!" And then
this is gonna happen. He's gonna do it.
Stathis shoots.
He's got a gun, and it's like the only moment in the movie of redemption for this awful worm of a guy. Because I mean,
he basically shoots the.
He shoots the wires that are connected to them. Yeah.
So he disconnects Gina Davis's pod.
He saves her life.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Like, he doesn't shoot the fly. He shoots the thing that's going to screw up Gina Davis, which I thought was a very noble thing of this wormy jerk to do.
So she gets out, and then the fly's pod starts, and...
Yeah, the fly, it's cool. Like, the fly uses his super fly strength to smash the window to get out of his pod, but then he gets teleported anyway, and he merges with the teleportation machine.
Yeah. Then you realize, oh my gosh, the fly and the teleportation thing are now one unit.
Yeah, and the way they make it look, like I thought, like, is it going to be like metallic? No, I mean, he just comes out and he's just screwed up.
He is really
screwed up. Look like a fly in a bad bender. Yeah, he's just really sad and unhappy.
Yeah, and then she
gets a hold of Stathis' shotgun, and
she still doesn't want to kill him.
Doesn't want to do it, and she's looking him in the eyes, and she feels bad for him. And it's an amazing puppet moment where the fly, with its claw-like hand, it takes the gun, puts the barrel to his head, and
like basically, please put me out of my misery.
Yes, which is very understandable at this point.
And
he's got a tail too.
Yeah. Wow, thanks for pointing that out.
Well, things aren't all bad. He's got a tail.
Gross. So she blows his head off.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And then credits.
Well, it's a little more than that. I mean, there is, this is a way to talk about Gina Davis. We haven't talked enough about her performance in here. I mean, to think about the final moment of the movie, I mean, it's the camera is just lingering on her. There's little sparks going on around her, and the camera is, basically it's a fade out. It's like the movie just kind of slowly goes black. Gina Davis, she has to like stand on this sound stage with sparkies going everywhere, and she has to look at this puppet and cry her eyes out and evoke all that emotion on this slimy, dead, headless puppet, which I think is pretty amazing. She has to do that
through his entire metamorphosis, and it's amazing that she can conjure that emotion.
Not enough credit goes to her performance in this, because you don't believe the Beauty and the Beast story if you don't believe that Beauty loves the Beast, and at this point the Beast is very hard to like at all.
Do you think she feel like her performance was better because they were actually married?
I suspect it helps a lot, because they got great chemistry in this movie. They really do.
Yeah.
They did a movie. They did 3 movies together. The movie they met on, which is unfortunate, it's a comedy called Transylvania 65000, where she played a vampire. It's not good. It's embarrassing. We'll never talk about it on this show, so please don't ask us to talk about that movie. They met on that. It's a terrible movie. But they did one after this called Earth Girls Are Easy, which is a stupid sci-fi comedy musical where he plays literally a fuzzy alien, and she's this hot California chick who falls in love with him. Anyway, even in that movie, they have great chemistry. So,
well, I think Jeff Goldblum could have chemistry with any inanimate object and every human.
Which is a compliment. I mean, he's brilliant. He's a great actor in just about anything. And he makes even the bad movies he's in watchable because he's in them.
Yeah. But I think the fact that she actually was truly in love with this person helped her really convey some very deep emotions to the point where every time she goes back to his place, I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. He's a monster.
Yeah.
So I truly... her performance is amazing.
I think she wants, I think Ronnie wants the thing that he does. It's like these two have managed to avoid domesticity. They managed to avoid a normal relationship, whatever that is, for a long time. So this idea that they're both kind of going around like, we can be an old couple together, we can have vacation together.
They were talking about their future.
Yeah, early on before things go really, really bad. And, I want it for them. Because she's clearly really cool, and she clearly doesn't like her ex, which I love. It's not even so much like, well, she can't help herself. No, she really hates her ex, but it's a compromised position because it's her boss, and she's trying to make nice, but at the same time, keep her boundaries, and she can't because he's a creep and he's always there. So you really do want these two to end up, and because it's The Fly, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a doomed relationship. Yeah, so the movie ends abruptly. I quickly, because of the wonderful people at Scream Factory, our new sponsors. No, they're not.
That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. We love you, Scream Factory. So on the disc for the film, on the special edition Blu-ray that I got, it did have the original ending to the film, which apparently they did show to a few test audiences, and I love this ending because,
You love it for how bad it is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because so the ending, which is that it's like takes place sometime later. And by the way, Stathis and Ronnie in bed together. It's like, some time has passed, maybe, I don't know what, a year, a month. No, a couple months actually, because she's still with child, I think.
I guess.
I guess
she's still pregnant.
It's ill-defined, and Stathis has both of his hands in the scene. It's
you only see one.
You only see one? I thought he had two. Anyway.
Well, they're in bed undercover, so.
The thing that's really disturbing is that they're very lovey-dovey with each other. And she's like, troubled. And he's like, it's okay. If we're lucky, the baby will look like you, not like me. I'm charming now. So she goes back to sleep, and she has this dream of this cocoon, this glowing pink cocoon on a tree. The cocoon hatches. It's literally a baby child, a human baby with butterfly wings.
Yeah, it's a baby butterfly.
And we keep cutting, the butterfly, and we keep cutting back to Gina Davis's character, and she's asleep. She's smiling, because we all apparently do that when we're asleep. She's smiling big, and then the butterfly takes off and
into the sun,
into this shining light, whatever that is. And that's originally how the film ended. And I love showing it to you because this is, this was the original effort to have the audiences walk out. Oh, that was nice. Walk out with a smile. Walk out with some kind of optimism. And they very wisely, after the test audiences. And the test audiences, by the way, I love this. This is true. Apparently, it wasn't so much how bad the fly baby, the fly butterfly effects were. It's that audiences did not want to see Gina Davis in bed with John Getz's character.
No,
they hate this guy. This guy is crap.
He's the worst.
They're like no. It's better that it's a doomed love story. It's better that it ended in such a crushing, horrifying, and tragic way than to be like, oh, hey, it's okay. A few months later, she's with this guy, and now she's having, butterfly baby with her creepy former stalker.
Yeah, and the animation of this butterfly baby is so terrible.
It's weird because the effects in this movie are top notch, and then you get to this scene, you're like, okay, this is clearly like the last thing they shot.
Yeah, they were like, we have $10 and do what you can.
Like, the wings don't flap, that's fine. Just wiggle it in the air. It's okay. It'll look like it's flying.
Yeah, I'm so glad that wasn't the actual ending.
Yeah, the ending as it is, it's so powerful. It's abrupt and it's jolting how abrupt it is. But it was the thing that more than anything stayed with me over the years. It wasn't even so much the gore. It was just that the film ended in a way that it felt really, really cruel, but also really honest.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I love this film. I saw it when I was like 13 years old. Weirdly enough, I watched it with my mother. We watched it from beginning to end.
I can't believe your mom watched this
I know.
movie.
My mom to this, now she likes stuff that's strictly happy endings, good, wholesome movies.
Like Hallmark movies.
Yeah. A Hallmark movie would be like a really edgy, gritty choice for my mother. Let's just put it that way, folks. But like in 1990, because I remember I was 13 years old, I really wanted to watch The Fly. So it's like I watched it with her. And the one thing I remember happening was during the arm wrestling scene, which has a really gory reveal, Mom was like, it's okay, remember, Barry, it's just a movie. I'm like, you're right, Mom. And she did that to me a lot, and during my childhood helped me really like not
scared,
not be freaked out. Like she did that. That's another story, but like she did that with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like there were a bunch of movies where we'd watch it together. Like, remember, it's just makeup, it's all effects, it's all make believe. But she did that with this movie, and despite the fact that this movie is, I wouldn't use the word erotic. In fact, it's uncomfortable in its sexuality, I think, dealing with all that. And this movie is crazy gory at times, but yeah, watch it with my mom. It's the first time I saw it, and I loved it. Really loved it.
Wow.
You did not grow up with this film, which is why your childhood was probably a lot happier than mine.
No, as we established before, I think I was watching like Flight of the Navigator for like the 25th time.
Which is great. That movie came out the same year as this one, so I love it that like I'm like watching The Fly. You're like, yay, Flight of the Navigator.
That is the difference.
That's the difference in our upbringing.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Did you like this movie?
You know, I liked it more than I thought I would. Cool. I think you had built it up so much. And I know that we saw The Fly 2 back in Denver.
It was a special situation, though, we should say really quickly. There used to be a series.
It was a comedy show
called Mile High Sci-Fi, where they would make fun of the movie. Like Mystery Science Theater. Yeah, exactly. Where you'd have the comedians making fun of the movie while you're watching it. Sometimes they'd add sound effects and music. And we went to this series a lot. Yeah,
we did. And it didn't matter what the movie was. We knew
they would turn anything into a comedy.
Exactly.
So all the things that were disgusting about The Fly 2, and The Fly 2, by the way, much gorier than the original, a lot gorier. But you know, they made it into a farce. I don't remember
any of that because we had so much fun.
Yeah.
So I think I was expecting just something way, way worse. I was not expecting to feel anything for any of the characters or for it to like have a heart, I guess. I think I was expecting a full-on horror film.
Yeah.
And this kind of gives you more than that.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is my light recommendation.
I appreciate that, Jules. I mean, you know, I've told you this many times. I'll say it again. Like, I love sharing great art with you. I love watching great movies with you, whether you like them or not. I just, you know, it's cool for me to like, you know, see your experience of it for the first time. It was great, like watching you jump, watching this movie that came out in 1986. But this was one that I've always been like, it's too much. It's too gory. Because the first time I saw it, like, even I was grossed out by it. How could you not be? But the characters just pulled me in. There's something about the way Cronenberg does it, the way the actors are so on point, the effects are so incredible. Like, I do think this is one of the best science fiction films probably ever, certainly if not of the 80s. I've always wanted to show it to you, but like over the years, I just thought, no, don't do it, man. Don't do it. She will hate you. It's going to go so badly. She's not going to make it past the baboon. So like when we got to that part, I thought, oh, wow, you want to keep going? Because I figured like, you'd be like, I'm done. But no.
And I'm out.
Because honestly, like, I'll tell you, like, to me, this is like, when I think of a gory film that most people can't handle, this is the kind of film I think of. Like, this is the kind of movie I would normally never show you. And I don't recommend to people because this is, you know, even though this film was a hit, it was a big hit and it's critically acclaimed and it's considered a classic. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not the kind of movie most people own.
No.
You know, I do, but, you know.
You have the whole box set.
Of course I do. I own all the Fly movies. So.
Okay, so if there could be an alternate ending of
there already is one. It's perfect. I mean, the only ending that we didn't have is where, like, you know, okay, if we're going to go, like, an extension of the ending that already exists, it's like Stath is sitting there like, all right, well, I'll get the broom. You want to like get the pan and we'll sweep up this all the Fly gets. Oh, can you get my hand? Actually, no, I don't have one. Sorry. Okay,
can you give me a hand? Because I don't have one.
You know, even though that's really groan-inducing, he's the only character that's in The Fly 2. We see him in The Fly.
Without a hand?
Yes, he's handless and he's footless.
Wow.
And yeah, spoiler for a moment, like he has a cameo in The Fly 2 because the Fly Boy is born. He grows up to be Eric Stoltz, and his girlfriend is Daphne Zuniga, who's Princess Vespa in Spaceball. So they're the leads of The Fly 2.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so of course. Well, here's the thing. So they track down Stathis because he's the only survivor, and Martin Brundle, the son, is like, what's wrong with me? I don't know what's wrong with me. Oh, there goes my teeth. Like he doesn't get, So they escape from this scientific lab where he's being raised. He's basically, the scientists are waiting for his metamorphosis. So in The Fly 2, Martin Brundle tracks down Stathis. He's living alone in this mansion. And this is, I'm not making this up. So Martin's like, well, what did you think of my father? And this is the line. He's like, I didn't like him much. He bugged me.
Oh.
That's the line in The Fly 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a groaner.
Yeah, so I like The Fly 2, but major step down from The Fly 1.
Major step down.
Yeah.
I mean, but you have 5. Are you going to be watching all of them?
I've seen most of them. There's one called The Curse of the Fly, which was the last one. Apparently it's just dreadful. It's like when they didn't even care anymore. Like, just put on some makeup, run around, go bzzz, and action,
Yeah.
I've heard it's really bad. It's the only one I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I've seen like the Cronenberg one that we watched, and then The Fly too. I've seen those multiple times, and the original The Fly, which is pretty great. I've seen that a lot.
So how many stars did you give this?
This one?
Yeah.
4.
Oh, okay.
For me, it's tippity top.
Wow, guys, that is the highest recommendation from the professor.
Well, we haven't watched that many great movies lately. Not for this, but it'll
not
get better.
for this.
Yeah.
But
No, I do think this is about perfect. I do.
yeah, we do have a whole list, guys. So
Yeah. For all you long time listeners now, we've come up with our movies we wanted to watch, and we kind of combined the lists, and I think we got a really good playlist coming up.
unless this is all just put out of order, and then this comment makes no sense.
Yeah, they like released this episode in like 2023. Like they talked about that forever ago. So
Okay, well that's it. That's our episode on The Fly.
buzz, everyone! Check out The Fly. Thanks for listening.